rivalry, but I thought they were naive, selfish, egotistical, ignorant.
From simmering grudges to full-blown feuds, Rory McIlroy's rivalries with Bryson, Koepka, Mickelson, and Garcia have shaped the sport's modern drama. But behind every handshake and headline lies a deeper fire. And I've got every tense exchange, hidden insult, and untold moment that built golf's coldest wars.
Justin, so well played out there. You started the day 7 off the lead. You finished the day in a sudden death playoff against Rory McIlroy with about an hour in between as well on the range. How do you describe the journey that you've been on today?
Rory's friction with Justin Rose reads like a slow-burn thriller, polite on the surface, savage in the margins. Rose is the steady, unflashy predator who turns up when the stakes are highest. McIlroy is the theatrical frontrunner who wants to win with style. That dynamic produced electricity at the 2025 Masters, where Rose pushed McIlroy to a playoff and exposed the brittle edge beneath Rory's swagger. The tension isn't personal so much as structural. Rose's quiet competence punctures Rory's narrative of inevitability, and McIlroy, who hates being outgritted, winds up simultaneously admiring and resenting the man who keeps him honest. Their exchanges rarely escalate into public mudslinging, no headline-grabbing tweets or locker room brawls, but the undercurrent is constant. Each time Rose survives the long game, Rory is reminded that brute talent isn't the only currency on tour. In interviews, Rory's admiration often tastes faintly of frustration, an athlete's version of envy disguised as respect, while Rose stays composed, almost gleeful in the role of spoiler. For viewers, it's delicious. Two champions clashing not with blow-by-blow insults, but with the persistent, uncomfortable knowledge that the other one simply refuses to be flattered into losing. The result? A rivalry that simmers, haunts leaderboards, and always resurfaces when majors ask for composure over charisma. Sergio Garcia and Rory share a classic European team tension spiked by ideological betrayals. Once comrades in Ryder Cup trenches, their relationship curdled when Garcia aligned with LeV, and McIlroy loudly denounced the move as a fracture in the sport's moral fabric. Garcia, never shy of theatrics, fired back, accusing Rory of sanctimony and reminding the world that team loyalty and personal choices can look very different depending on who's asking the questions. It's the sort of feud that tastes like old teammates arguing over a clubhouse table, part principle, part wounded pride. When Ryder Cup air turned hot, Garcia's barbs landed with the force of long memory. When McIlroy returned the heat with measured public critiques of LeV defectors, the old grudge flared into something more than locker room sniping. This is not playground name-calling, it's a duel over narrative authority. Who gets to define what modern professional golf should be? And both men have carved public positions to defend. For McIlroy, Garcia's jabs sting because they question his integrity as a leader of the European game. For Garcia, Rory's stance feels performative. The result? Mutual shade, occasional public zingers, and a rivalry that will outlive a single headline because it's anchored in differing visions for the sport's soul. If you think Rory's done airing grudges, think again. The real tension isn't on the course. It's in the shade, the silence, and the shots that never make TV. Keep watching. The next name hits hard.
All I'm trying to do is inspire kids on YouTube. And, we've amassed quite a big audience on YouTube, and I'm continuing to focus on that train of thought, and whatever Rory says and whatnot, it's great. I didn't mean anything by it other than I'm excited. I hope we can have some good banter back and forth, and if not, if he wants to do what he's doing, great, no problem.
Bryson DeChambeau and Rory are the sport's fireworks, equal parts science-fueled theatrics and personal theater. Their rivalry detonated after DeChambeau edged Rory at the 2024 US Open and continued through a series of frosty exchanges, public jibes, and symbolic slights. By the 2025 Ryder Cup, the antagonism had the feel of a serialized feud. Handshake snubs, pointed gestures, and a flag placement moment in Europe's celebrations that many read as Rory's deliberate trolling. The contest between them runs deeper than scorelines. Bryson's contrarian, attention-seeking persona conflicts with Rory's leadership as responsibility posture. Each one exploits public moments to score psychological points. DeChambeau with provocative press lines and on-course theatrics. McIlroy with cold shoulder and symbolic gestures that land on camera. For the audience, it's irresistible. A modern rivalry stitched together by moments large and tiny, from major finishes to festival-style taunts. It's messy, theatrical, and perfectly calibrated for the internet age. Two megawatt personalities refusing to share the same emotional space, which means every tournament they both enter becomes a subplot in a drama that promises more sparks than quiet putts.
So, if you had to pick one player from any tour to play with every single round for the rest of your life, who would it be?
Yeah, most people probably hate this answer, but like Rory, right? Because I feel like maybe divulging a lot, but there's a competition, and I'm sure maybe he's that way or not, but like, okay, I've got to get one more than him, and then he's gonna get to 5 soon.
Brooks Koepka's relationship with Rory is volatile cocktail of competitive contempt and performative machismo. Koepka, whose LEV-fueled triumphs and rugged major tally made him both idol and antagonist, often aimed cheeky barbs at McIlroy, suggesting Rory's criticisms were the sort reserved for those unable to match Koepka's wind-up and power style. McIlroy's riposte was usually cooler, questioning commitment and consistency rather than hurling back personal insults. But when Koepka openly encouraged heckling or sneered about Rory's near misses, the line between professional rivalry and public antagonism blurred. This wasn't just about trophies, it was about narratives. Koepka's swagger framed him as a counterpoint to Rory's refined brand. Where Rory wants legacy and leadership, Koepka wielded brute results and a deal-with-it bravado. Fans fed the soap opera, social media clips of jibes, reporters hunting for reaction, and moments on the range that felt as staged as a late-night skit. The fight, such as it is, thrives on contrast. One man's cool dominance versus another's polished, sometimes exasperated leadership. It's combustible, entertaining, and one of those rivalries that keeps ratings ticking because both players refuse to be boring.
Sat down with Roy last week, and we had lunch, and we were talking, and I said, Roy, I said, I know you prepared for Augusta. Tell me how you're going to play the golf course. And we went through it shot for shot, and he got done with the round. I didn't open my mouth, and I said, well, I wouldn't change a thing. I said,
When Jack Nicklaus, the sport's old golden voice, took aim at Rory's supposed major frailties, it landed like a paradox, yelled critique from the man whose standards built modern golf. Nicklaus's barbs about choking and being overrated cut deeply because they came from the standard bearer of greatness. Rory's response, choosing to skip the memorial in 2025, read to many as a public middle finger. This is generational thunder. A legend policing a younger icon's temperament, while the younger icon, burning to prove himself, opts for silence or strategic absence rather than public sparring. The tension is half disputed legacy and half personal bruising. Nicklaus checks Rory's composure against the old guard's iron rules. Rory answers by letting his play and selective absences do the talking. The narrative theater here is delicious. An established elder lecturing on fortitude while the accused champion completes his major set and lets results be the retort. For viewers, it's a classic clash of eras, tastefully bitter and exquisitely performative, with both men confident their version of greatness will outlast the other's insults.
Certainly Patrick Cantlay had been pretty beat up over the course of the day during this round today. We saw it where the fans were making a point about him not wearing a hat. There you can see right there Rory Mcilroy going at Jim Bones Mackay about this issue. He said this can't happen, this can't happen, this is disgrace, and he threw some other words in there as well.
Patrick Cantlay's friction with Rory springs from a single electrifying Ryder Cup moment that snowballed into full-blown spectacle. When Cantlay's caddy, Joe LaCava, waved a hat in a manner that many took as taunting while McIlroy prepared to putt, tempers flamed, leading to a volatile car park confrontation and later public admissions of irritation from McIlroy. This wasn't just petty gamesmanship, it was a perceived breach of on-course etiquette that escalated into an international talking point about respect and gamesmanship in team golf. McIlroy's public recall of calling Cantlay a certain obscenity captured how personally he took the perceived slight. Cantlay's camp shrugged, others played referee, and social feeds binged on slow-motion clips and heated pressers. The fight is messy because it sits at the junction of personal pride, national rivalry, and career narratives. Both men are elite, both care about legacy, and a single hat wave became shorthand for everything that can go wrong when emotions meet big stage pressure. Fans still replay the footage like a short-form drama. Small gesture, enormous fallout.
About Phil Mickelson, I'm curious what the your reaction, what the reaction in there was when you read about it.
I mean, at least he can bet on the Ryder Cup this year because he won't be a part of it, so.
Thank you.
Phil Mickelson's feud with Rory is an outsized drama threaded through the LIV rupture and Phil's propensity for provocation. Mickelson, who pivoted publicly and often caustically to the rival circuit, drew McIlroy's ire for what Rory framed as disloyalty to the sports team ethos. Phil, never one to back down from a rhetorical brawl, returned shade with playful cruelty, tweeted jabs and sotto voce comments that turned a disagreement about contracts into a soap opera spectacle. The dispute has the shape of an older provocateur, Mickelson, goading a younger figurehead, McIlroy, until tempers and headlines flare. It's also a generational debate about the economics of professional golf, dressed up in personal affronts. For McIlroy, Mickelson's moves felt like a betrayal of the unwritten rules that bind teams and reputations. For Phil, Rory's posturing appears as moral grandstanding. The result has been repeated public sparks, barbed remarks, strategic silences, and the ever-entertaining theater of two megastars arguing not just about tournaments, but about the soul and future of their sport.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be dragging him up that last hole. I swear. Just what you want to hear after you're looking at the ball in the tree, and he goes, "You need to drive it better." Thanks, Kessler. I appreciate it. Great words of wisdom. Drive it better.
Patrick Reed's run-ins with McIlroy have the raw, petty energy of a rivalry that turns personal fast. Reed's alleged tea-throwing at a practice range, an almost cartoonish escalation, followed by legal papers and icy treatment, made the feud less about competitive jealousy and more about basic disrespect. Rory's decision to blank Reed in public settings and to describe him bluntly in media interviews transformed the incident into a morality tale about boundaries and professionalism on tour. Reed's temperament and provocative courtroom drama only fed the narrative. A volatile figure who seems to court confrontation and a global superstar who refuses to play along. Fans loved the spectacle, tea flicks, tense stares, and the logistical absurdity of professionals serving papers at home, and pundits parsed whether Reed's actions were juvenile or tactical. The conflict crystallized around a simple truth. Golf, for all its polite veneer, can yield very ugly, very human moments. Here, those moments were amplified by social media and legal theatrics, leaving a lingering impression that Reed and Rory are not merely competitors, but symbols of two opposite approaches to professional behavior. Rory didn't just play rivals, he rewrote how golf does drama. But these grudges? They're far from buried. Subscribe now, because when the next rivalry reignites, you'll want the story before the headlines do.